Ohio State exchanged quarterbacks per se this week, and I don't know if it was much of a exchange. I don't know if it worked out too well for him. But CJ Stroud, after all the speculation and all the efforts to try to keep him around, and there must have been some decision-making process there because he waited until pretty much the end of the line to declare for the NFL draft, when that's usually the time when the fourth and fifth rounders are deciding, okay, which is a better option, not a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. But CJ Stroud finally makes his decision, or makes his decision known. And one Tristan Gebbia is making his way from Corvallis and the other OSU.
Yeah, a development of some regard, I think. Obviously, Ohio State goes into spring football this year with two guys, Kyle McCord, who is a sophomore currently, and Devin Brown, who's a freshman. And there's 2 years of separation between them because McCord didn't play enough to break his redshirt year, I don't believe, this year. So that's a good thing, I guess. But, I look at it, and I think that this kind of falls under the category of what we saw a few years ago with Chris Chuganoff, who came from West Virginia, Gunnar Hoke, who maybe come from Kentucky. These are veteran, journeyman type quarterbacks who have been career backups, maybe gotten a little bit of run here and there, got to start a few games maybe when somebody was hurt, or just when a program was between guys, or that type of thing. Never been the guy at a Power 5 program, but have been in the mix and have practiced at the highest level and played at least a few games against the best competition out there. So I think that this is a common sense move by the coaches. We had people on our message board who were like, this is Ohio State. They should be able to go out and get somebody better than this. And it's like, no, you don't understand. I think anybody who has a rational brain, who's been around college football like this Gebbia kid has been for 5 or 6 years, understands that all of the eggs for Ohio State are in the basket of Kyle McCord and Devin Brown. And they have recruited 2 national top 100 quarterbacks, and those guys are going to be given every opportunity to win the job. And it's kind of like, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, know your role. Your role in this whole scenario is to be there, to show up on time, to learn the offense, to help coach the young guys, to throw passes in practice to Marvin Harrison and whoever needs passes thrown to them, and be there in a pinch. If something were catastrophically to happen to one or both of those guys, then maybe this Gebbia character would get Gebbia. I can't even get his name right. I apologize. I'm just terrible on names. He would be pressed into service at that point. So he's a stopgap in all likelihood. I mean, they have Lincoln Keenholz coming in from South Dakota this summer. He'll be, a late addition to the class, committed in December after visiting for the Michigan game, and decommitted from Washington. Sounds like he's a quality player from all, aspects, but the fact of the matter is, they don't want to rush him along and put him in a situation where they're depending on a true freshman if it came to it. So this guy gives them some insurance and is there in a pinch. And from his standpoint, he gets the thrill of playing for, again, a team that I just posted a story yesterday, Mark, where I took all of the way too early top 25 lists from, as we like to say, the Dodds and the 40s and the Schleybaugh and all those guys, the luminaries of our sport, who come out in the wee hours after Georgia trounces TCU 62-7, and they put up their top 25 for the following year. And Ohio State, I think, was third or fourth, fourth on that list, with the usual suspects: Georgia, Alabama, Michigan, Ohio State, in any order. The different lists had them in different orders, obviously, but Georgia was the unanimous number one, even losing Stetson Bennett going into next year. But for this kid, Gebbia, it's a thrill to come and play, and practice and be around, meaningful college football games. I mean, Oregon State had probably its best season in 15 or 20 years this year and still not really relevant on the national scene. So I think for him, he kind of gets out of anonymity, gets onto the front page of college football, even if he'll just be in some ways a glorified onlooker. So I think it's a great pickup for Ohio State, and we'll see what kind of dividends he can pay for him.
Yeah, as Steve said, this is I don't know if you can hit a home run in the portal looking for a fourth string quarterback, but you get a guy who is a seventh year guy, had all kinds of offers coming out of high school, has 5 or 6 career starts in his time, has seen a lot, and this is what you get to be your fourth guy. And Ryan Day ideally wants 4 scholarship quarterbacks, and he knows it's harder and harder to make that happen nowadays with the portal and the way quarterbacks see themselves. So to get this guy to who wants to get into coaching to then become perhaps a helper of Lincoln Keenholz when they both get to campus, and at the very worst could be a number 3 if somebody leaves, or perhaps even a number 2 if somebody leaves. And then you've got either Kyle McCord and Devin Brown, or one of those guys stay, and then you've got Lincoln Keenholz and Tristan Gebbia there to battle for the backup spot. It gives you experience. It doesn't just leave you with a true freshman being your backup if somebody leaves. So it's a little bit insurance, and like we know, not all insurance is great insurance, but it's insurance. And so that's basically what he is. And like I was telling you guys before the show, I knew the name from Nebraska. He redshirted at Nebraska as a true freshman in 2017, and then transferred during the season, I think, in 2018. And that was, I think, probably lost the job to Adrian Martinez at that point. And then it's like, well, I know I'm never going to play here now because Adrian Martinez is a redshirt freshman, a true freshman, won the job. So went off to Oregon State and was pretty quiet while he was there and did his time. And he actually had to sit out a year for transferring. That's how old he is, to give you an idea of the first time he transferred. He actually sat out the entire year, and now he's free to move. And so I guess he'll show up in the summer and just be able to kind of hit the ground running. And I'm sure he'll have the playbook well in advance.
Now we've got guys that transfer and they flip before their transfer is even complete, and so we're at that stage now. But yeah, Tristan Gebbia, I remember him from the Nebraska days as well. I believe he ran into Jake Luton, the guy who became a journeyman quarterback in the NFL, like a 6'7", 6'8" guy at Oregon State, one of the tallest quarterbacks you'll ever see. And yes, Buckeye fans, don't be alarmed. Ohio State is not looking to press a 5-touchdown, 4-interception guy over his career into the starting role. And I think maybe some people lose sight of, and it seems pretty obvious, but while all these big name starting quarterbacks out there, the Devin Learys and Sam Hartmans, are switching teams, that Ohio State, CJ Stroud, Justin Fields, Dwayne Haskins, all those guys were unproven. JT Barrett, unproven when they first were thrown into the spotlight and had to make it happen.
It's crazy to think that they've gone through basically 3 of their 4 greatest quarterbacks of all time at Ohio State. If you say JT Barrett and Dwayne Haskins, Justin Fields, and now CJ Stroud, 4 of their 5 best, if you want to throw Troy Smith in there. And certainly I'd say they're top 3 quarterbacks ever, in my opinion, with Justin Fields and Dwayne Haskins and CJ Stroud. And so now you move on to perhaps Kyle McCord, and the expectation to be one of the top 5 quarterbacks of all time, I think is too much for anybody. But that's what Ryan Day does with his offense. That's what happens. That's what the receivers you have that you're working with. And so we'll be talking about the expectations of these quarterbacks forever, but that's a lot of pressure. It's kind of like the pressure and the results of the Ohio State head coaches themselves going all the way back to Woody Hayes, where you have just line after line of Hall of Famers, and the guys that aren't in the Hall of Fame are Luke Fickell and Urban Meyer and Ryan Day so far. But you've seen all of these guys have been able to win, and you don't want to be the guy that stops the streak, I guess.
I haven't done the math, but I think Urban Meyer may squeak past the 60% threshold for the College Football Hall of Fame. He may be able to clear the mark.